We do have a sentence for Real Housewife of Potomac star Karen Huger, just now sentenced to 1 year in jail. Prosecutors have been looking for a 2-year sentence with all but 6 months suspended. In this case, the judge made a different decision, deciding that Karen Huger should go to jail for 1 year.
Y'all, this is breaking news. Karen Huger has just been sentenced to a year in jail. Yes, you heard that right. 1 year behind bars. And trust me, the courtroom was nothing short of chaos. According to reports, Karen was in complete shock when that verdict dropped. She broke down crying, calling out to her husband, Ray Huger. As they took her into custody, she yelled, "Love you, Ray. God's got you. You'll be all right. God bless you." Now, for those who have been following Karen's legal troubles, this moment didn't come out of nowhere. This wasn't just one bad decision. This was her 4th time being arrested for driving under the influence. And this time, the judge wasn't willing to give her another pass. The prosecution made it clear that Karen had been given chance after chance, and at this point, she was a danger to not only herself, but everyone else on the road.
In not so surprising news, Real Housewives of Potomac star Karen Huger has been sentenced in her DUI charges. As you know, Karen Huger was convicted several weeks ago in regards to her DUI charges. Recently, we found out that Karen Huger has had multiple DUIs stemming from 2006 to 2011. This, according to prosecutors, would be her 4th DUI.
Now, let's talk about how we got here. Karen stood in front of the judge, and let's just say the Grand Dame's charm wasn't working in that courtroom. The judge wasn't buying the excuses, and when that sentence dropped, oh, you could feel the tension in the room. Karen was stunned. She went from composed to completely shaken in seconds, and the first thing out of her mouth, Ray's name. She called out, "Love you, Ray. God's got you. You'll be all right. God bless you." It was dramatic, but this time it wasn't for the cameras. Karen was being taken into custody right there in the courtroom. No chance to go home, no final goodbyes, just straight to jail. And you could tell she wasn't expecting it to go down like that. Reports say she looked completely blindsided, like she really thought she was going to walk out of there. But let's be real, this outcome wasn't surprising to the prosecution or even to the judge. Karen had been arrested for DUIs before, but this time the court had enough. The prosecution laid it all out: multiple offenses, failed attempts at rehab, and a pattern of behavior that put lives at risk. And when Karen's legal team tried to push back, saying she had been working on herself, the judge wasn't buying it. And let's not forget the biggest factor in all this. The courtroom got to see the police body cam footage of Karen's arrest, and that video did her no favors. In that clip, Karen was out here acting untouchable, name-dropping Andy Cohen, talking down on the officers, and even admitting, "Damn, I'm lit." It was all there. She wasn't confused, she wasn't concussed, she knew exactly what was going on, and the judge made it clear that Karen had played the system for too long. See, this ain't Karen's first run-in with the law. Let's rewind a bit. This is actually her 4th time getting caught up in a DUI case. And while she's managed to wiggle her way out before, the judge was like, not today. They said she had mastered the art of working the system. And you know what? Looking at her history, they weren't wrong. Karen has a pattern. Get arrested, give a tearful apology, claim she's seeking help, and then go right back to the same behavior. And for a while, it worked. She managed to avoid jail time before, but that just made her bolder. This time, the prosecution made sure to highlight that. They reminded the court that Karen had already been given multiple chances: probation, rehab programs, fines, and yet she kept reoffending. The judge wasn't having it. They said Karen knew exactly how to manipulate the legal system and that she wasn't taking the consequences seriously. They even pointed out how she tried to downplay her latest arrest, acting like it wasn't a big deal. But 4 DUIs? That's a big deal. The prosecution made it clear this wasn't about punishing Karen for one mistake. This was about stopping a dangerous pattern before someone got seriously hurt. And honestly, they had a point. Each time Karen got off easy, it just reinforced the idea that she could get away with it. But now, that reality check came hard. No special treatment, no celebrity privilege, just cold, hard consequences.
Apparently, the judge took everything into account, including those DUI charges and her lack of accountability, and he sentenced her to 2 years. Technically, 1 year in actual jail and 1 year suspended.
Now, Corinne did try to plead her case. She came in with a whole list of reasons, trying to explain why she kept ending up in these situations: stress, grief, antidepressants. She threw everything at the wall, hoping something would stick. She even brought up her role on The Real Housewives of Potomac, claiming that the pressure of being the grande dame contributed to her action. Yes, you heard that right. Karen was out here saying that the stress of being the face of the show played a role in her getting arrested for DUIs. But the prosecution was not about to let that slide. They reminded the court that she had been given chances before, and yet here she was again, asking for another one. Karen also tried to show remorse. She apologized in court, even admitting that she had been arrogant in thinking she could handle alcohol, but at that point her words didn't hold much weight. The judge wasn't looking for another apology, they were looking at her actions, and those actions showed a pattern of recklessness and entitlement. The court had heard it all before, and this time they weren't interested in excuses. To make matters worse, the prosecution argued that Karen's attempt at rehab wasn't genuine. They questioned the legitimacy of the recovery program she attended, suggesting that it was more of a strategic move than a real effort to change. The judge agreed. They felt that Karen had been playing the game, doing just enough to keep herself out of trouble without actually fixing the root problem, and after 4 arrests, enough was enough. By the time the sentence was announced, it was clear no amount of tears or excuses was going to change Karen's fate. The court had lost patience, and this time there was no getting around it. Her defense team scrambled to fix the damage, trying to argue that Karen had suffered a concussion during the arrest and wasn't thinking clearly. They claimed that the impact of the situation, combined with any possible head trauma, might have made her act irrational. But at that point, the damage was already done. The footage was too damning. The judge called her out on it too. They pointed to the way Karen carried herself in the video, how she acted like she was untouchable, how she disrespected law enforcement, and how she showed no real concern for the seriousness of the situation. The court wasn't about to let that slide, especially not after 4 arrests. At the end of the day, that footage sealed the deal. Even if Karen had a chance at getting a lighter sentence, that video shut it all down. The court saw who she really was in that moment, and that's what stuck with them.
I failed at that miserably. I understand how lucky I am that I hit a tree. Thank God I did not hit a pedestrian.
Well, Karen does have the option to appeal, and trust me, she will. She's not about to sit in that cell quietly without fighting back. But will it actually work? That's the real question. Here's the thing. Appealing a sentence isn't just about saying, I don't like this verdict. She has to prove that there was some kind of legal error in how the case was handled. Maybe she'll argue that the judge was too harsh. Maybe her lawyers will claim that her past DUIs unfairly influenced the ruling. But let's keep it real. This is her 4th offense, and that footage is out there. An appeal might delay things, but will it actually get her out of this? It's looking real tough. Karen's legal team might argue that she was over-sentenced, especially since celebrities and public figures often get lighter punishments. They could also try to negotiate for house arrest instead of actual jail time, claiming that her status as a reality star makes her a target in prison. But given how the judge already made it clear that she had too many chances before, it's not going to be an easy battle. And let's not forget, public opinion matters. If people feel like Karen is trying to use her privilege to avoid consequences again, the backlash could be serious. The courts don't want to look like they're giving special treatment, especially when it comes to repeat offenders. So while Karen will fight and she will try to get a better deal, she might have to face the reality that this time she's not getting off so easily.
I was spared because I have a responsibility to use my unique optic lens and teach others and affect quite possibly millions of people with the message of not drinking and driving.
Now, let's be real. How do we think Karen is going to handle jail? She's used to luxury, wigs, and champagne, so this is about to be a major reality check. No designer clothes, no glam squad, and definitely no Potomac drama to hide behind. This is about to be a completely different world for her. First off, let's talk about the basics. Karen is going from high-end fashion to county-issued jumpsuits. No more Versace, no more diamonds, ribbons, just standard prison blues or oranges, depending on the facility. And let's not even talk about her hair. You know Karen loves her wigs, but in jail, she might have to rock her natural hair or deal with the prison-approved head wraps. That's going to be a big adjustment for her. And then there's the food. Karen has spent years whining and dining at the best restaurants, but now she's looking at cafeteria-style trays with mystery meat and overcooked vegetables. No five-star meals, no gourmet brunches, just whatever they're serving that day. But the biggest challenge? The people. Karen is used to being the queen bee in Potomac, but in jail? That title means nothing. She won't have her allies or her rich friends to back her up. Instead, she'll have to handle a whole new social hierarchy, one where reality TV status doesn't buy you special treatment. Now, some celebrities do manage to keep a low profile in prison, but Karen? She's not exactly the quiet type. If she starts acting entitled or tries to throw her status around, she might find herself in some real trouble. On the other hand, if she plays it smart and lays low, she might be able to get through her time without too much drama. But now I want to hear from y'all. Do you think Karen deserves the full year, or is this way too harsh? Let me know in the comments, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe because we'll be keeping y'all updated on all the latest tea.